Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. We are live back again, and today I'm going to be talking to you about a story of an unconventional career and mindset. So, welcome to Conversations with Karuna, and I have an amazing personality with me today, whom I am myself a big fan of his voice and the content he creates as well. So, welcome Simerjeet to the show.
It's a pleasure to be here, Karuna. Thank you so much for having me. I'm looking forward to an
My
exciting conversation today.
My pleasure to have you here. So, absolutely, it's a great time for me because I'm just loving these conversations with Karuna that I'm doing with such amazing people like you. So, those who are
Thank you.
watching it, Simerjeet Singh has been an a hospitality industry professional. He left a high flying career to follow his heart's calling. He's today now known across the globe as a keynote speaker, mindset coach, and a growth catalyst. He has 1.3 million YouTube subscribers and a lot of experience of training and coaching people across different nationality and the world. And of course, there's lots and lots more to it, which we'll keep talking about in the conversations as we go ahead. So,
Sure.
Surjit, a question to you. Let's start with a question to you. You've
hmm
been a hospitality professional and you moved on to follow your heart and become a motivational speaker. What
hmm
made you do that? Where did you start your career journey? Where are you born? Where are you based? So tell us a little more on that front, and then tell us more about what made you choose what you chose.
So I was born in Batala in district Gurdaspur, a small town in the border district of Gurdaspur, and that's where I was born. That's where I was based up until 10 plus 2. And then I moved to Chandigarh in the year 1996 for my hotel management program in the IHM Chandigarh. So 96 to 99 I was in Chandigarh, and then 99 I moved to Sydney, Australia, to the hotel school to complete my bachelor's degree in hospitality. That's when the Olympics were happening in Sydney, and my first job happened to be with the Marriott International in United States, Arizona, and that was 2001. So those were the early days of my career, and see, as luck would have it, I mean, my dad wasn't well in 2001, and then that's the time that I moved back to India to be with him. And then my next job happened to be with Radisson in Jalandhar, and that's hence after dad passed away, we moved to Jalandhar, and that became our new home base. And I left the country again subsequently for the next 7-8 years, traveling and working and living in UAE and the UK for 4 years before I moved back to India once again in 2007, and this time for good. And I'm now based in Jalandhar in Punjab, Karuna, and that's where I'm based right now. And that's as far as the geographical location goes. That's the status. But thanks to largely a virtual world and all these virtual conversations, it's largely becoming irrelevant now where you are based. As long as you're happy where you are, which I am, I feel blessed. We have a wonderful view from the office. We have better air quality than most of the metros in India. We have less traffic.
Absolutely.
We can. My gym is at the other end of the city, and people often ask me, so how far is it when you say the other end of the city? I jokingly say it's 15 minutes. The other end of the city is 15 minutes, which
I
would be a
have
dream
been.
for most of the
Yeah, I
folks
have
in
been
Delhi.
to Jalandhar and I
hmm
absolutely love the city. I love the greenery it has and also the beautiful ambience it has overall. So,
Right, right.
of course, I am based out of a metro city, so I'm surely jealous of the fact that you are enjoying such.
Well, there's the plus and minus both. So, but thankfully now we have an airport in this city as well. Earlier, I had to travel to Amritsar to catch my flights, which was my nearest big airport. But now we have one that has come up close by. So things are getting easier every day. And as I said earlier, as long as you're happy where you are, and I'm very happy where I am at the moment. So that's the story as far as my geographical location goes. My move from hospitality to motivational speaking, as you asked, was triggered by boredom, I must say, by boredom and predictability. So I feel, okay, done the things that I wanted to do, traveled around the world, and the path ahead, it did not excite me as much. And I think this is going to be one of my first messages to our audience who's logging in today, is if the next few steps of your journey don't excite you, that's probably a good time to pause and reflect and see if that is the path that you want to head towards, or do you want to make a change. So when I went through that process of questioning myself and saying, okay, these are the next steps. After a general manager of a property, you become a regional general manager. And a regional general manager is not based out of a single property. He is based at the regional head office. So he's not even meeting guests and customers and interacting with the staff on a day-to-day basis. He's becoming more of a finance guy. His job is to ensure every room is sold at the highest price possible. And so the fun of being in a hotel in the middle of the operations, the challenge is that something is coming up every now and then. There's customers to look after, there's complaints to attend, there's staff to be mentored and to have a conversation with. There's so much going on, and I thought, okay, am I going to lose all that? It's just like a teacher uh, being promoted to a principal, for that matter, right? And you say, oh, it's all going to be largely admin now, and due to the admin, I will miss being with the students. So if you see next few steps ahead of your journey, and if you don't like them, that's a good time to do some course correction. And that's what I thought. Okay, this has served its purpose. I'm very thankful for the hospitality chapter of my life. It's made me who I am. It's enriched my personality. It's broadened my worldview. Travel, I think Mark Twain, he said, is travel is one of the biggest antidotes to any sort of prejudice that you might have in your mind. You go and travel and you live with other people and you work in different cultures, especially in a multicultural environment. And a lot of your preconceived notions are busted. A lot of the myths are busted. You have X nationality behaves like this, and you're like, no, they don't. And the end of all this travel, and you realize people are the same pretty much everywhere. You got a few idiots everywhere. They keep traveling. The idiots keep traveling. So you meet them in different ways and forms. But you got a lot of nice people everywhere as well. And then a lot of the people that you meet are a reflection of who you are. So wonderful lessons learned during the travel. And I'm very thankful for my stint in the hospitality industry for that. And as things move forward, I said, it's time to change gears and, to do something new. And that's when I decided entrepreneurship is going to be the way forward. Moving back to India is going to be one of the major decisions I want to take. And serving and helping other people, in something in development. So it wasn't crystal clear, Karuna, that motivational speaking is going to be the thing that I will take. But I had a vague idea I want to go into the education space. So those were the first few steps.
Wow, interesting. So shifting from a job to entrepreneurship surely is a huge, amount of shift that we bring into our lives. I've made that shift and I've struggled for many years as well. So tell us a little about your journey, when you had to shift and what drove you to excel and be successful in this space.
So we'll divide your questions into two parts. First is the immediate challenge of moving from a job to entrepreneurship. It's huge. It's a jump outside your comfort zone. There's no paycheck at the end of the month. There is no perks and benefits. Everything vanishes all of a sudden. You're out on your own. And but I think that in itself is a big driving force. The fact that you now have to move things forward. The fact that you now have to make this thing successful. It was your decision, right? Nobody imposed it on you. You decided, okay, that I want to transition into this. And now all the challenges are yours to embrace, yours to welcome, yours to face, and yours to conquer. So it's like starting all over again. I think when you move from a job to being a solopreneur or an entrepreneur, it's more like starting all over again. And what is very helpful, what proved very helpful for me particularly, was a beginner's mindset, what they call in the Zen philosophy, the beginner's mindset. What that essentially means is I drop all my previous baggage. I drop all that I think I know, and I start all over again as a beginner. So if you remove any ego, if you remove any sort of baggage that you might be carrying, or any past successes that might be clouding your vision, if you remove all that and say, hey, I'm new into this and there's loads to learn and I don't know a thing, but I'll figure out, right? So with that, you see that the people are more receptive to you. You see that the universe is more cooperative with you. So that is one of my biggest things in terms of the transition, moving from a job into solopreneurship into entrepreneurship. Number one. Number two, I think with the second part that you asked is what drives me to excel, or what drove me to excel, in the past, and what continues to fuel that journey towards excellence even today, is the desire that if you have a gift, let's say if I'm a very good chef, for example, and I have a gift. I can cook better than other people. I can, in my head, conceive a new dish. I can do fusion. I can do Indian and Western, for example, right? If I'm a good chef. And if I don't cook, isn't that a huge disservice to humanity? It's like, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
Right. So the same way, if my words can impact other people, if my examples, my metaphors, my silly stories, my humor, my whatever can lift other people up, even by 1%, that's a gift that I have. So it then becomes my responsibility to ensure that that gift is being utilized to the max, in the best way possible, to the maximum number of people possible. And that's what drives us to excel, me and my team. Every day,
Wow.
we think of, how can we improve the experience for our teams, for our clients. Yeah.
Amazing. I love that. And I think it's so important to know ourselves better in that process, that we understand what are those gifts that we have. So let me
Hmm.
tell you, Simerjeet, even before I got you on your show, on this show, for many years I've been listening to your YouTube videos for
Hmm.
the fact that I absolutely love the poetry that you do, the
Thank you.
voice that you have, and the strong oratory skills that you have. And I'm sure at some point of time you got to know about this gift of yours, of this gift of being able to express yourself through your speech, through your voice. And I'm sure this is what helped you to, so I'm just giving an understanding for our audience that this is what is leveraging your gift, where we are all, we understand our talents and we are able to then exhibit that in that beautiful way that everybody just loves it. And I absolutely am a fan of the work that you're doing.
Thank you. Thank you. Just a word of caution there for our audience there, that sometimes people wait too long to discover their gift. So let me find out my gift. I haven't found it yet, so how can I use it, right? Which is a very valid response, right? And I will say to those people, sometimes when you commit to a mission and then you discover your gift, because your gift was dormant, it was sleeping earlier, it was there within you, but you never knew it. For example, in the 11 years in the hospitality industry, I never knew about, I keep getting compliments about my voice. I never knew in the 11 years in the hotel industry that I had a good voice that would be suitable for what I'm doing right now, except for a few people here and there. I used to work as a bartender in Sydney in multiple places. And one of these guys told me once, oh, you could be a radio announcer, or you could be a, radio jockey or something like that. And just, it's not like everybody was telling me that, but then once you commit to a path of action, once you commit to a mission, your dormant, sleeping gifts, they wake up all of a sudden, and you realize, oh my God, I had this. I could read poetry, or I have a deep voice, or I can connect with people. I didn't know it before. And then, so for everybody who's waiting to discover their gift, I'll say this: start by being of service to other people. How can you serve? How can you make a difference? And you will see so many gifts will awaken within you. Probably you didn't have a clue about them before.
Wow, I just love this thought, Simerjeet. And I'm sure those people who've been on the crossroads of life, this could be a really good, a point that they could take back and learn from. And this is golden nuggets, guys. So just make a note of this and use this and leverage it. And what Simerjeet is talking about absolutely makes such a lot of sense. That stop
Thank you.
waiting. Of course, reflecting on what we need to do is important. Reflecting on what are our talents is also important. But those who are sitting on the crossroads, those who are even not sure what they want to do, just commit to giving, commit to a mission,
Mhm.
and absolutely that
Mhm.
is going to help you shift your life as well. Okay, so we have a question from the audience, Simerjeet. Nishant is saying, I'm finding exactly where you found yourself. I'm top of my career now, planning to leave. So, any feedback for Nishant, which he should be mindful of while he's making that transition?
No, great. I think just the right time to leave, when you're at the top of your peak of your next thing, is the right time, because you've taken as much as you could in the learning process, and you will not leave with a sense of dissatisfaction that I could have done this, I could have done more, that, so you feel now that this has run its course, and now it's time
Mm,
for the next big thing. So
mm,
my only tip to Nishant would be, Karuna, my only tip, my top thing for him would be, don't let your previous accomplishments get in the way. So planning to leave and starting something new will involve you rolling your sleeves up and getting your hands dirty. And, so if your professional ego or your previous accomplishments or your previous successes, or I am so and so and I've done this before, I know how this works, if any of that gets in the way, that could be counterproductive. That could be very
mm,
dangerous. You don't want that to happen, right? So what you want is to come from a place of openness, of course, utilizing your previous experience, but also from a place of openness, open-mindedness, that I'm new in this and I'm willing to learn. What I said earlier, the beginner's mindset, the open-minded. I don't know who said this, but it's a wonderful reminder that the parachutes and human mind, they only work when they're both open, right? So and any sort of previous success can overshadow, because every day is new, every domain is new. So see, for example, here at Cutting Edge, at what we do in terms of offering my keynote speeches, I had to make this transition from speaking on stage to now being a virtual keynote speaker. And that
mm.
involves, till date, maybe half an hour someday, maybe 2 hours another day, taking off my jacket, rolling up our sleeves, and getting down on the floor, literally with my team, fixing wires and cables and putting new equipment in, and testing out things, and which is not our domain. This was acoustics, lighting, studio sound, so many other things. These are not in our domain, but I had to learn them, because guess what? It's about survival now. It's about it's no more a luxury. I'm bored, I want to do the next thing. It's about, there's no other option, right? So yeah.
Absolutely. I think um, the year of 2020 brought in a lot of learnings for all of us, and
Mm,
also showcased to us that there is so much that we need to keep changing ourselves. The change
mhm,
was such that the whole world was leveled,
mhm.
and it is so important to keep learning, keep an open mind. And I absolutely love the quote that you talked about, parachute and the human mind. This is something so important for all of us, and so
Right.
important that we keep changing ourselves. Our change
Indeed.
is what is going to help us. The
Mhm.
change that we bring in our lives is the only constant, and that can help us keep moving ahead in life.
And
So
and
that,
the sense, and the sense that the fact that you're changing is a signal to your subconscious that you're growing.
yes.
Because it's a horrible example, but let me, it's about, if you see, when a dead body is the most rigid, when a human in the human form, is when life is gone, and what remains behind becomes super rigid. Flexibility, being nimble, being agile, these are signs that you're alive. And the fact that you're growing, the fact that you're changing, is also a signal to your subconscious that something's happening, right? It's exciting. uh, the Harvard Business Review published an article. It was called The Progress Principle. I think there's a book also on the same topic, The Progress Principle, which speaks about that on the days that we feel that we've experienced even 1% progress, those are the days we feel really good about ourselves, right? And think about that. Progress could mean multiple things. It's not just about making more money. Progress is solving a challenge at work. Progress is having a breakthrough conversation with a colleague or a client. Those are things that those are different methods that can help you experience progress on a day-to-day basis. So we need to not be scared of change and challenges, but to understand that these are the drivers of growth and progress.
Hmm. Interesting. So, Simerjeet, you have right now 1.3 million subscribers on your YouTube channel with 500 million views of your videos. Apart from this, you have worked in different with different nationalities of people across so many clients. What have been
Hmm.
those key philosophies or mindset shifts that helped you to be in that diverse space and keep those people, clients engaged for such a long time?
Keep experimenting. I think that's been number one. Keep experimenting. If you are bored, that's a good signal that other
Hmm.
people could also be bored, right? So it's important to keep experimenting, right? And it's important to reinvent. It's important to reinvent yourself and your offering to the market. It's important to understand and incorporate new and emerging trends. It's
Hmm.
important to not take anything for granted, not even the fact that I have 1.3 million subscribers today. Nothing, take nothing for granted, right? And it's not you don't do it out of a sense of fear. So you're
Yes.
not. So it's not like constantly you're in an anxiety or fear, but it's about experimentation. What else can I try? So when poetry happened, Karuna. So for and,
Hmm.
or when going to schools and colleges happened, I used to do before pre-COVID. I used to do a program called Coach on Campus.
Okay.
So wherein we would contribute to the local community. Say, okay, local schools and colleges, if you want to get me in for a Q&A session, I'll be happy
Hmm.
to do it for your students, right? Now, the footage of that started going on to LinkedIn and YouTube and other places and on our website. I got a few emails from very concerned well-wishers saying, don't you think you're sort of damaging your own brand? You're the corporate guy. You are the one who goes to a five-star luxury property on the stage and then delivers a talk to C-level executives. And here we see you talking to these school kids in Hindi and Punjabi and, things like that. And and that just gave me a sense how scared people are to challenge any sort of conventions. The first thing
Stereotypes.
is, who's created these conventions? We have created them, right? We say, oh,
Hmm.
if he's a corporate speaker, he should not go to a school. He should not be speaking to high school kids, right? And then we started experimenting with poetry. And I believe poetry is a poet has the ability to put into a few sentences what many of us struggle to put in an entire book.
Absolutely.
Sometimes
Yes.
a few lines are so deep. Let me share with you a couple of lines from this poem called A State of Mind by Walter D. Wintle. And this one poem has more information than an entire book if you go deep into it. He writes, if you think you are beaten, you are. If you think you are beaten, you are. If you think you dare not, you don't. If you like to win, but you think you can't, it's almost a cinch you won't. If you think you lose, you've lost. If you think you lose, you've lost. For out in the world, we find success begins with a fellow's will. It's all in a state of mind. If you think you are outclassed, you are. You've got to think high to rise. You've got to be sure of yourself before you ever win a prize. Life's battles don't always go to the stronger or the faster man, but sooner or later, the person who wins is the person who thinks he can. But sooner or later, the person who wins is the person who thinks she can. So, and this right here, this goosebumps right here, this is what makes me fall in love with poetry because
Beautiful.
you can expand this short poem into an entire book.
Yes, absolutely. Beautifully said and beautifully written. So thanks to the writer as poet as well as to you for citing it. It is beautiful to hear. And I'm sure a lot of people who are listening to us right now can take back a lot of learning from this poem that he's just cited. So
Mhm.
thank you so much for sharing this.
You're most welcome, most welcome. And in wrapping up my answer to your question is, to be able to sustain any sort of momentum, it's important that you keep reinventing, you keep experimenting, that you don't get any stuck in any sort of model because the world outside us is changing constantly. The world is changing all the time. So we've got to, and not just react to change. We must be initiators to change. We must try to get a finger on the pulse of what changes are happening in the demographics, in the country, in the what are the expectations of the population, what are the challenges they are facing as speakers and coaches and trainers and influencers, so that we are best able to assist them. So this reinvention, regeneration, really important. Number one tip there. Yeah.
Awesome. And I think Nishant has got his inspiration. So he's talking about that he's going to be making sure that he takes back your learnings and implement them as well.
All the very
Amazing.
best, Nishant. All the very best.
Thank you. Thank you, Vikas, as well, for sharing this thought as well. Okay, so coming back to more questions to you, Simerjeet.
Mhm.
You've been in various, you've worn various hats as an entrepreneur, being in a job, also, working as a motivation speaker, multiple things that you've been doing as poet as well. Considering this, there are a lot of, I do feel also personally, and as I focus on helping people maximize their potential, human potential is immense. It's an infinite thing, I must say.
Mhm.
So what are your
Mhm.
views when it comes to, when people are looking at shifting their lives, careers, or bringing in much more positivity in their lives? uh,
Mhm.
how what are your thoughts? What can they do which can help them shift their mindsets so that they can
Sure.
kind of think big and make it big in their lives?
Absolutely. No, I think one of the first things that I will suggest in terms of training your mindset to be more optimistic, more positive, especially when you're making big changes in your life, is to focus on what you have. So not only focus on what you have, but also be thankful for what you have. Because only then you're in a position to leverage the power of what you have, right? If you're constantly in a complaining mode, if you're constantly focusing on what's missing, you are giving away the power which you might have at the moment. So my technique there is this little diary, and it's got both my gratitude pages and also my visualization pages. So I am greedy, I want more from my life, so I put that in the visualization section. What still needs to be done, and what I've already achieved, I write it in the gratitude section, and I try to spend some time on this every day. And especially on the days on which I'm feeling low, it helps me. It's a real booster to be just to flip a few pages, the gratitude section, and see, oh my God, this was such a big challenge at some point of time, and now it's worked out. Wow. And if that could work out, what else could work out, right? So it builds that faith inside you. And when faith comes in, fear has to move out. So faith is the landlord and fear is the tenant. So when faith says, "Hey, it's my property," and fear says, "Oh, okay, sir, I'll vacate today." And if fear is ruling your mind, that means you're giving the most precious real estate in the world on rent to a tenant which should not be there. So faith is what replaces fear, and you do it by being grateful for what you have, even if it might not be what you want. You might want changes, you might want other things happening in your life, but hey, you have it today, and you should be thankful. Because what if you don't? What if your everything that you have today vanishes, goes away? There is no code of the Indian Penal Code under which you can file a criminal case against the universe saying, why is this being taken away from me? And once those things are taken away from us, that's when we begin to appreciate them. Take, for example, the trend of the fake commute. The fake commute is what started during the lockdown times. People
Yes,
who used to travel about the travel times to work earlier now miss that very commute.
absolutely.
And that includes me also to some extent. We used to travel extensively for my keynotes, 20 days in a month. There has been days where I would enter the country and then leave it again. So flying in from Dubai, going to Bangkok, or within the country, or so many other. By face, I knew so many of the CISF guards at the various airports of the country, or people in the lounges of various airports in the country. I would call myself the ghost of the Terminal 3. Always, because that is where I would interchange a lot of my flights. It used to be a lot of layovers at times. And so there was a time when I was complaining about that. And now I miss it. So moral of the story, appreciate what you have, because
Absolutely.
once it's
Yes.
gone, that's, if you appreciate it, then it might be too late. So everything that's happening, even right now, if it's painful, if you've lost your job, or God forbid, if you lost a loved one to COVID, or if anything like that has happened in your life, my sympathies, my condolences. But at the same time, you've got to accept it and pull yourself up back together and move on. Like the famous poet Shiv Mangal Singh Suman, he wrote, he said, "Chalna hamara kaam hai. गति प्रबल पैरों में भरी, फिर क्यों रहूं दर दर खड़ा, जब आज मेरे सामने है रास्ता इतना बड़ा, जब तक ना मंजिल पा सकूं तब तक ना मुझे विराम है, चलना हमारा काम है, चलना हमारा काम है." So it beautifully reminds us that our job is to keep moving forward, right? Gati prabal pairo mein bhari, that my feet are itching to move forward. गति प्रबल पैरों में भरी, फिर क्यों रहूं दर दर खड़ा, जब आज मेरे सामने है रास्ता इतना बड़ा, जब तक ना मंजिल पा सकूं तब तक ना मुझे विराम है, चलना हमारा काम, चलना हमारा काम है. Our job is to keep moving forward and learning and also appreciating life. So that's the number one thing. Focus on what you have. Number two is be relentless in the pursuit of what you aspire to be. Be relentless, which means take breaks if you have to, rest if you have to, but don't quit. But don't quit. People quit very easily. Whether it's weight loss, whether it's self-discovery, whether it is transformation, personal transformation, setting up a new business, learning a new job, learning a new skill, people give up too early. And what we don't understand is that this is bound to happen. Initially, you will put in a lot of effort and you will not see any results, right? And then you say, this is worthless. It's not worthless. It's giving you the momentum. Famous Iranian poet Sadi Shirazi, he said, most things are difficult before they become easy. And that's a beautiful quote right there. Most things are difficult before they become easy. Which means with any new skill that you're trying to learn at the moment, it's going to be a little difficult in the beginning before it becomes easy. There will be a time when it'll become easy, when it'll become natural to you. But before that, it's going to be difficult. And that's like a test. Will you be able to pass that test or not? So be relentless in the pursuit of what you want to achieve. Number three, make peace with the fact that you can never get it all done. The to-do list will always be there. There will always be unfinished projects. There will always be unfinished things on the to-do list. Make peace with the fact that you will never arrive at that place where you will be fishing in a lake by the beautiful mountains and there will be nothing to do in the world, because you'll be bored if that happens. There'll always be things to do. Make peace with the fact. Make peace with the fact that there's the whole point of human life is not to arrive at a destination. The whole point is to enjoy the journey.
Yes.
And a lot of people are caught up. Oh, when will I have the next million subscribers? When will I have this? Old story goes, Karuna. Old story goes.
Yeah.
There was once a very happy family of limited means, not very affluent, but a very happy family in the countryside. The king was very rich, of course, very powerful, and he was passing by. And he happened to see this very happy family of 4 in the countryside. The king was jealous. Like, oh my God, they probably don't even have enough food to eat. I'm the richest man in this kingdom, and I'm not happy. These guys are having a good time in the mud and doing things that they're doing, but they're still all happy and smiling. So he talks to his wazir, and his wazir says, "Sir, do you wish me to make him unhappy and miserable?" The king said, "Yes, I'm very jealous. I want him to be like me." And this is the problem with miserable people. They want others to be like them. They are allergic to the smiles of other people. They're like, "Why are you happy when I'm miserable? So I'm going to do something to make you miserable so we are equal." So we have to be careful of this. But anyway, so what the Wazir does is, it's very interesting. What the Wazir does, he takes 99 gold coins. You with me, Karuna?
Yes,
Yeah. Yeah.
absolutely.
99 gold coins in a nice silk bag, and he drops them in front of the door of that person's home. And now, as one would expect, that after having 99 gold coins, he should be very happy. He didn't have them before, right? But he took out the money and he counted and he counted. Said, 99. Very happy. He was first very happy, but then his attention started moving to, why is it not 100?
Yeah, I get
It
that.
should have been 100. Who took the one gold coin? The king sent me 100 gold. Somebody took the one gold coin. So what happened? The, the 99 gold coins that he had earlier, he did not have earlier, but he now had them. He should be dancing in bliss. But all of a sudden, his entire mental energy of his and his family is now focused to the one missing gold coin, which was never there in the first place. So he cannot enjoy the 99. It's the 99 club, trying to make it 100.
Yeah, absolutely. I think a lot of
Focusing on the
us,
lack. Yeah.
yeah, a lot of us, many a times focus on what we don't have and
Mhm.
stop thinking of what we have. So if we are able to shift the perspective and say that, okay, what I have makes a lot of sense, and even if it's 99 and not 100, and be happy about that, that I think can just make a lot of difference.
And then just a sentence to add there. By all means, strive to 100. By all means. That's the essence of, we are in human form we are achievers. We were wired to create. By all means, do that. But let that not be always the sole 100% focus of your entire day. Let yourself also be full of gratitude and thankfulness for what you've already accomplished as well, right? So yeah, that was my third one. That understand that you will never get it all done. Give your best every day, right? Give your best every day, and understand that tomorrow is there for a reason. Learn to switch off, and then come back again and attack again. We have a shark at the entrance of our office. A friend of mine gifted us a beautiful wooden carved shark, which now
Wow.
hangs at the entrance. So just to remind everybody who's walking in, you keep telling them, this is who you are. You're sharks. So to get that killer instinct back once you're at work, but also to learn to switch off at times.
I think this is a beautiful answer. These 3 points, I think, can just sum it up all for all of us, that can help us shift our mindsets from lack to abundance. It can
Thank you.
absolutely change our lives. So, thank you, Simerjeet, for adding it. Just to sum it up, I think we talked about focus and be thankful for what we have. Use tools like gratitude journals and visualizations that can help you shift things and make it a habit on a regular basis. Be relentless in the pursuit of what you aspire to be, because that's where your consistent commitment will help you shift everything. And thirdly, what
Mhm.
Simerjit mentioned was make peace, that there would be, we can aspire to have 100%, but even if you are at a 99 right now, be thankful and be happy and be at peace with that, because contentment is the key to make you happy.
Mhm.
So thank you,
Mhm.
Simerjeet, for adding that beautiful value to this conversation. And I have another question for you. Before I ask you this question, I know this, that you have a lot of global excellence awards that you have won. You also are one of the top 200 thought leaders to follow in 2021. You're also, one of the top 10 motivational speakers across different, so these are different forums. These are so many beautiful accomplishments and awards that you have. And we're talking about so much of success. I would love to know more about, I'm sure there have been situations where you failed as well.
Mhm.
There were situations when you felt that, okay, this is not the right thing for me, or you had a challenge. So tell us a little about something, some story around that, or something that you experienced, and what helped you shift from there.
I would look at your question from two perspectives. One is if I were to do what I'm doing all over again, what would I do differently, right? In terms of learning from what I'm doing. If I were to do what I'm doing right now all over again, what would I do differently? I would say that I would work on building a good team sooner than later. So my team, if I can quickly ask them to come in and say hi quickly. Uh, they're here, hiding here in the background.
Would love to see them.
That's Chirag. Chirag, say hi.
Hi, Chirag.
And,
Lovely seeing
and
you here.
that's Manpreet. The people
Hey,
behind the scenes, yeah, Gitanjali, of course, she works remotely, and Manpreet and Chirag, and of course, well, some of them are busy with other things, and Jayant, he comes in the evening. Wonderful other people, the people behind the cameras, people with the audio experts, so many. And I, Shama chahta hu if I'm forgetting the name of anybody at the moment. But yeah, this is number one learning, is that if you are able to collaborate with a bunch of people who are as passionate about what you're doing, and they are skilled in what they are doing, and they understand your vision, that speeds up, brings in a huge multiplier effect. If you were to ask for a particular setback, I refrain from using the word failure, because it's like a big full stop. Oh, failure and end of road, right? So if I were to refer to a particular setback, which was a big gift in hindsight, it was the rejection from the Indian School of Business Hyderabad, ISB Hyderabad, for their MBA program back in 2007. So I say it was painful because I'd worked hard for it. But at the same time, I also knew that, I'm just taking my chances here, in the sense that my GMAT score was around 640 and their average was around 700. So I was doing the best I could to get into the diversity quota. I'm a hospitality guy. Most of their class cohort is techies. So I was wondering they might want a little entertainment in the classroom, which they didn't. So they turned me down. So that at that point of time was like a little painful. I worked hard for it. I wasn't even called for the interview. So I did not even make to round one. But it was my biggest blessing, because when that rejection came in, that's when I decided my entrepreneurship journey, because I was in the UK when I applied for it. So they had a roadshow in London. I went and attended that. Then I sent in my application from the UK to Hyderabad, et cetera, et cetera. And then I was hoping that I would get through, and that would be my ticket back to India. I'd go through a good B school, land up a nice job, and, safe and secure. But once they said no, it was painful. That was a setback at that point of time, but also my biggest blessing, because what I'm doing today would not have been possible if I would have gotten through that ISB program at that point of time. So yeah, loads of mistakes, loads of mistakes. More recent ones, like forgetting to unmute the mic, and thank God we are not another meme like Shweta, your mic is on. So we are not a national meme, but yeah, we've done embarrassing things in the process of getting to learn how to work with virtual more comfortably. But then again, guys, I see this question on the screen from Time for Tech: how to deal with failures. Don't take it personally. That's my number one tip. Don't take it personally. As a kid, you did not used to take failures personally. Right? As a child, learning how to ride a bicycle or doing something, if you fell down, you would not say, oh, you're such a moron, you should never ride a bike, you can never do this. You would not take it upon yourself. But as adults, we tend to take all of this stuff personally, and that's what we should refrain from doing. We should take it as a game, So I'm new to virtual. I'm not a pro. So there are going to be mistakes. I will forget to unmute my mic. I will have my camera positioned at the wrong time. You'll perhaps see my nostrils at times, So I am going to do all those silly things, because, hey, I'm just getting to know how this thing works. So don't take it personally. Don't take failures personally. That's a superpower.
Yeah, that's the superpower. I think I love this. And I think that's going to be one of my learnings, apart from others, that taking failures or taking setbacks, not taking them personally, is going to be such a beautiful way to live our lives in much more peace and contentment. So Time to Tech also has another question for you, Simerjeet. He says, how was your experience when you started YouTube?
I didn't start YouTube. It's the Google guys who started YouTube. But if you're talking about when I started the YouTube channel, so for us, so initially it was for many years, Karuna. It was for our marketing purposes. We would take clips of actual events and we'll upload them, and other sort of things for communication with our clients. Somebody wants to invite me for a talk and they want to see how this guy speaks, and we'd send them a link, etc., etc. So for many years that was the format. And then we just experimented with poetry. So that was a time when Bulle Shah was one of the Bulle Shah recording ke Chadde Suraj Tal De Dekhe is all attitude of gratitude. That came out. Baith Jata Hu Mitti Pe Aksar, we recorded that. And these sort of Hindi poems, which did not get any views on YouTube at all. Here's something very interesting. 200 views, 400 views. But the next thing, I go to a party and everybody says, "Is this you?" And WhatsApp was just catching up at that point of time, and everybody was hooked onto WhatsApp. So on YouTube it was less than 500 views. On WhatsApp it was going viral internationally, and all these videos from all across. So we did not have any views on YouTube at that point of time. But then afterwards, when people might have deleted their WhatsApp videos, they say, "I want to listen to that thing again." They probably might have gone onto YouTube and searched for that. So we never started with this intention. We want to, have a huge following on YouTube. It's the drive always has been, let's share information with the world. My motto, and this is what I keep reinforcing to my team also, is it's better on YouTube than on your hard disk.
Of course.
If you have a video sitting in your hard disk and you're like, oh, thinking, should I post it? Should I not post it? Go ahead, post it, and it's better on YouTube than on your hard disk. And that's if specifically if it's going with a service point of view, if that information can help somebody, if it can make someone smile, if it can lift somebody up or make someone's day, please post it.
Indeed. And I think in today's times, a lot of us are, due to the shifts that we are seeing due to 2020 COVID-19 situation, and post that, there are a lot of people wanting to go on the digital media to be able to, express themselves. And I think this is a good time. If you're, I think from the question of time for tech, I can figure out that maybe that's the career model that they're field that they're looking at. I think you should just go ahead and start working towards the area that you are interested in. So that brings me to another, pointer that I wish to bring in. Right now in today's time, I do a lot of career coaching, and I'm sure you're also, connected to a lot of people who want to build their careers going forward. So people, and these are times of change and for some crisis as well. So what would your, thoughts and what would your motivation be, support be to people who are listening to us, sitting at a point where they are on crossroads of life or have been through crisis or change? What is it that you can suggest to them that can keep them going to what they want to do?
I think this is one of it's a very important time. It's a wonderful time if you take care of your safety from the pandemic, that is. And it's a great time where if you have self-discipline, the tasks that you can do right now will give you returns for many years to come. Because this is the time when you're not commuting, you're not wasting your time with travel. This is the time for many young students when the classes are probably, examinations are postponed or canceled. You have a lot more free time at hand, right? So this is the time but that has a precondition, which is self-imposed discipline. If you are good at being your own boss, if you are good at being your own mentor, your own coach, if you can take charge of your own life, and if you invest this time wisely and properly, this time will give you return on investment many times over in the years to come. So for example, if you're a young student who has a lot more free time available and you don't know what to do with it, you could probably improve your fitness by 20, 30, 40%, and that will help you in the years to come. Because once you're in a corporate job, and we know how it becomes very difficult to look after your health and fitness. given the shortage of time and so many other things. Just an example there. Second, you were interested in things that you were not able to study. So you studied engineering, for example, but you were always interested in politics. You now want to study public policy. There are courses available from the leading universities in the world free of cost that you can enroll in. Do that. There are groups and there are online conversations happening, whether on Clubhouse or on LinkedIn or somewhere that you can tune in, you can listen to the experts. It is such an important time for self-learning and self-development, provided, and I say this again and again, provided you have the self-discipline to use it well. A lot of people are so conditioned to being driven by someone else. As a young child, we are conditioned to being driven by our parents. As an employee, conditioned to being driven by our boss, right? But now that is, if that goes away, can you drive yourself? That's a big question. If you can, you will make immense progress in this time in terms of learning, self-development. Take charge. Take it as a hibernation. If you know, take it as a time for self-discovery, strengthening yourself. And once things get back to normal, which they eventually will, you know, we're going through a tough time once again. I was actually on a holiday to Goa, Karuna, about 15 days back, and we were very optimistic when we saw that the aircrafts were full, the resorts were sold out, people traveling, conferences happening.
Yeah.
We came back very optimistic, and then the surges happened. So,
Yes.
like for example, just today's news I saw is the number of cases have crossed 2 lakh active cases, which is the highest ever. So wear your masks, practice social distancing, don't be a spreader, you know, look after yourself. And once those boxes are checked, once those things are taken care of, next thing is, I have this free time. What can I do with it? Because as we all know, once things get back to normal, we will not have the luxury of this free time that we have right now. So use it well. Use it well, so you don't regret later.
Absolutely, yes. And also, I think those who are looking at building themselves up, not just by learning from various other places, it makes a lot of sense to get a coach for yourself if you're still not here. And I'm sure Simerjeet could be a great coach to help you on that. You could reach out to me or to anybody else whom you think could help you. And absolutely.
I'm sure you'll do a fine job, Karuna, and at coaching as well. Yeah, I read all about your experience and everything, and I'm sure you'll add a lot of value to any individual who wants to get their life back on track or their career back on track.
Thank you so much for that. So before we end this session, Simerjeet, a question and a line of feedback for you from you for Conversations with Karuna. What is your thought around that? And we promote helping people, helping organizations to build conscious cultures, conscious careers, help people to build conscious careers for themselves and through conscious leadership. So our concept is that, you know, be more conscious, be more self-reflective, and that can help you become better in your career, better in your life as well. And Conversations with Karuna is all about that. So your feedback on that for us.
You're doing a fantastic job. The very fact that you've initiated something like this, that you've nurtured it over the last years, a couple of years now, or how long has it been?
No, we started only last year. It's been 6 months, 7 months. Yeah.
So see, so many wonderful things have emerged during the lockdown, including Conversations with Karuna. So the very fact that you've taken the initiative and this conversation is happening today is an endorsement of your success, of your commitment to this. The fact that you've taken initiative and the fact that you are assisting and serving other people through these conversations is wonderful. And I applaud that. And I wish you all the success in the future. My one request would be, at time, if it's possible, also do some stuff in Hindi or vernacular as well. So you can reach out to those section of people who might not fully comprehend the English language and therefore feel left out. There's a huge demographic in our country which feels left out of so many things just because they don't have access to the English language. We do it very often. You know, I do videos which are 100% in Hindi. We do blog posts which are in Hindi at times as well, just to make sure that, you know, those are very gifted, talented youngsters, very gifted, talented people who spread in different parts of the country. And they need, so to every coach, mentor, trainer, speaker who's listening perhaps right now, they need us. उनको हमारी ज़रूरत है और हमारी ये एक जिम्मेवारी बनती है कि हम जो कटिंग एज ग्लोबल आइडियाज हैं वो इन तक लेके जाएं, क्योंकि हमारे देश का भविष्य है ये बच्चे.
Bilkul. And I think anybody who's willing to reach out to Simerjeet, he's available on YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, all social media handles, even on Instagram. So feel free to reach out to him, and feel free to reach out to me if you have more further questions, and we'll be very happy to help you out with all of these. And thank you so much, Simerjeet, for this beautiful conversation and the feedback that you've given. We will absolutely consider and follow this. Thank you so much for this lovely.
Thank you, Karuna. Thank you. Thank you so much.
With that, thank you guys who are listening to us, who might be watching it later. Thank you so much for being there. Do leave in your comments, subscribe to our channel so that it can help us spread this message as further as possible. And I'm going to be back next Thursday with yet another amazing personality. For now, thank you, Simerjeet, and thank you, everyone.
Take care. Bye-bye.